Hello again, everyone, and welcome to Jerry's Old Guy Review with this old guy. And as we continue along with the series of long-term reviews, today we're talking about Element. And for those of you who have been under a rock and don't know, Element is the crawling division of Team Associated, and all of us know about Team Associated. If we've ever started out in our old-time RC career with the RC10, memories. I've been working hard today outside, so I needed a beverage. So let's start out with the Element Sendero. Actually, what was that? That was the Element Enduro Sendero and the Trail Runner. Now, the Sendero, and this is the original version, the first offering from Element, the second offering from Element. For those of you who saw the early videos, I bought this just because it was a 4Runner. Even though it's not a 4Runner, but it looks like a 4Runner. Independent front suspension, solid axle. Now I'm going to tell you, for the price tag, when this came out, less than $350 when it first came out, which is, 2 years now, I think it is. The Element Enduro Sendero came with this retro-style truck body, which to me looked like a Dodge. A nice old 80s Dodge square truck, so I made it a Dodge. But I kept the body because it was unique. As we all know, in the crawler world of everything Wrangler, something different snatched it right up. Team Associated, just like Traxxas with the TRX4, sat back and thought it through. Made their own version, and decided to throw in some odd extras for a crawler. Factory overdrive that you could install yourself if you wanted it or if you didn't want it. If you knew anything about it, 2 different ratios. Pull out the transmission, do it yourself. Everything was in the owner's book, which came looking like a Haynes manual or a Chilton's manual, whatever we want to think about it. But gave you tidbits in there to do a lot of stuff yourself. The Trail Runner with the independent front suspension came the same way, but we'll get to that. Now, of course, for the very reasonable price tag, of course, the tires weren't the best. A lot of people said the radio gear, of course, was horrible. Well, I'm still running the stock radio gear in this. I have taken this truck up a mountain, which my Gladiator I built to conquer said mountain, because this truck, I had to pick and choose how to get up said mountain with this, but this truck in stock form was phenomenal. Now, the only complaint that I heard about that I agree with was the bumpers. The front and rear bumpers were just weird, and they stuck out a lot. So this one, I put a T or in a G I put an Energy front bumper on it, which was sucked up closer to the front. And I removed the rear bumper and I put the bumper from a RC four-wheel drive TF2 on it, which tucks right underneath that original bumper. You can't even tell it's there, but it makes this truck, the angle to start a climb is very impressive. Now, something I didn't need to do, but I wanted to just try. This has a lot of Club 5 racing on it also. It's got diff covers. It's got a sweet little Enduro cover for the steering servo. Diff covers, diff protectors, weight for the wheels. And of course it's got all the arms on it, which are the high clearance arms. And it's still one of my favorite trucks to drive around. Now, I'll tell you, when these first came out, they were touted as having some of the best shocks on the market that didn't leak. Well, I'm going to tell you, these suckers can't keep oil in them anymore. So I'm thinking I need a good rebuild on them because they just seep right out. But meanwhile, for crawling, it still performs well. As you can see, look at that. Push it down, it barely comes back up because the juice is all loose. So right now, they've replaced, here we're going to go with another company who took some of the complaints of this truck. Element RC addressed them. So for $375.99 right now, you can get the Enduro Sendero HD. And it addressed a lot of the issues, plus it removed the bed, and it has a cage back here now. But still with the same retro-y body, and now, like what I did, now it comes two-tone. But now this, when we get to the Trail Runner, independent front suspension. Now, those of us old-timers remember Tamiya's CC01s. And a lot of the early vehicles were independent front suspension. They weren't crawlers, but we tinkered with them because they were like a real vehicle. Now, the Trail Runner is by no means a hardcore rock crawler, but it is realistic. Kind of, sort of, I'll say. Because the independent front suspension on this truck, we made this truck and its independent front suspension so that if you didn't like it, you could put a front solid axle back in this vehicle. So we had to work with what we had up front. So to me, the independent front suspension is too beefy, if that's a thing. It takes up a lot of space because we had to fill all that space. We had to make a big heavy-duty thing. And one of the things that we lost in this truck to this truck was in this empty space up front, you had room for a servo winch. So I put one in there. I put a Reefs winch servo in this truck. I've used it a couple times, not big on winches, but you lose that in this, which was depressing, but also you get a different level of driving with an independent front. I am not going to start ragging on the fact that it's not a rock crawler and it's just a dedicated trail truck. Well, you can take a trail truck, see what it'll do. Take it out and see how far you can go. This truck with independent front suspension is a completely different animal than a CC01. I mean, there are hundreds of hop-ups for CC01s to Mayas on the market. Don't even come close to what this will do in stock form. And of course, you get a lot of extra doodads. You know, you get this bumper, you get a stock bumper that you can leave on or take it off and put this extra bits that come in the package. You could do just a small one in the front. 3 different options for a front bumper. Rear bumper, there's nothing there because it's factory looking. You know, you could cut and trim if you want. You can put this roof rack on, or you don't have to. Let's see it. Oh, it came with a snorkel. You know, all this stuff I just detailed up, and I like taking it out and seeing what it'll do. There it is. Oh. The independent front squeak that you'll get with this, you know, the only way to really fix it is to just keep taking it off every time, or keep spraying it down with some WD-40 or something every time you use it. Actually, that's not bad. But, you know, you can make the Element Sendero a hardcore rock crawler. The Trail Runner is just something fun. But you also have now, what is that one called? The Night Runner, which is another Toyota. It's a Tacoma, which is a beautifully detailed vehicle, but as they are with pickup trucks, you know, you've got to do some extra work if you want it to be a dedicated crawler. What else do they got? They have got, the Gatekeeper, which is like a rock bouncer racer. You've got the Ecto, which is same chassis as the Elements, or as the Sendero, but what do they call that? They're calling that just a trail truck. Trail truck rock crawler. But I've heard good things about the way it crawls too. More of a, you know, it's set up like a dedicated crawler, but it's still got the same chassis. So you can just pick and choose. Now, what do I think? Once again, haven't broken anything. The factory radio gear works fine. Same thing. Didn't break anything, but put some extra doodads on it just because I was doing the Gladiator and I decided, you know, what the hell? If I'm ordering stuff from, you know, Club 5 Racing for that, why don't I grab a couple of doodads for the Element too? So we can maybe put the two of them up against each other this summer and see what happens. So, you know, I want to thank all you guys for these long-term reviews I've been doing because of my crazy winter this year. And, you know, other than one guy who complained about the Red Cat video being too long because I wasted all of our times talking about Red Cat, it's been a huge hit, and I'm glad that we can sit and talk about the fact that everybody on the channel except for the one, you know, is willing to give Red Cat a shot, or they have great experiences with Red Cat. Well, now it's going to be the same animal. Let's talk about Element. I think for the money, it's terrific because what I spent on this and the couple of $100 I spent on some hop-up parts, not even close to some of these big names right now. And I'm thinking Team Associated is a pretty big name. So let's talk about it. I know a lot of you have them. I know some of you just bought the builder's kits just to make one. Excellent value, excellent truck. If you've been doing it for a while, or you're just starting out. So once again, thanks from Jerry, Old Guy Review, and the crew is nowhere to be found because we've been working hard today and they are sleeping somewhere. So I will talk to you on the next one.